Hi, welcome back to misformeeple. My name's Mitch.
And I'm Morgan, and in today's video, we're going to do a Kickstarter preview of the game Mindwalkers. The origin, the mystical energy source that has provided magic users with powers previously thought unimaginable, has been damaged. As Magi of the ruling Council of Mercy, you are tasked with protecting the realm from plunging into chaos. Mindwalkers is a game of hidden agendas and manipulation. Each player has the powerful ability to hijack the mind of an opponent every round and force them to do your bidding. Can council members preserve their rule over this once glorious realm, or will others seize the opportunity to fulfill their own destiny?
So in Mindwalkers, players will assume different identities and be associated with those teams. You can either be part of the council trying to restore energy to the origin, part of the fallen trying to just stop that from happening, or be part of one of the three others like the hawk, populace, or the hunter, which have each their own win condition. No matter which one you're a part of, you won't know who's on your team.
Mindwalkers is played over the course of 5 rounds, each consisting of a day phase and a night phase, except for the last round, which only has a day phase. During the day phase, players will first review any mind walks they've received, if any. Then they'll draw 2 cards, visit a location with their player token, and play any number of cards from their hand. There are 3 different types of locations: bronze, silver, and gold. The first location we're going to talk about is the time chamber, and this location is sealed at the start of the game and must be unlocked in order to visit. The action that can be performed in the time chamber is to take the first player card and give it to any other player that you choose.
The next location is the Council of Mercy. You pay 2 mana and choose one. You can either add a seal token to any other location or remove a seal token. You may enter the location immediately after and perform that location's action.
The next bronze location is the Sanctum. The action that can be performed here is to draw 2 cards from the deck, reveal them to all players, and then add them to your hand.
The next location is the Bazaar. Look at a player's hand and take up to 2 of their cards, then give them the same number in return.
Next, we're going to talk about the silver location types. The first is Sanctuary, and this location is also sealed at the start of the game. When players are at the Sanctuary, other players cannot target you with card effects, Bazaar, or Court of Garul Khan, and must pay mana in order to give you mind walks.
Alright, the next silver location is the Cavern, which is also sealed at the start of the game. Whenever a chamber vote is declared, you may choose to raise or lower the passing threshold by 1 mana.
The next location type are gold locations, in which players may initiate chamber votes. In the Court of Garul Khan, which is sealed at the start of the game, players can target another player and initiate a chamber vote. If they have 4 or more mana, the vote will pass and the target player is then banished. If you have 0 or less mana, the initiator is then banished instead.
The last location is the Origin, and when you initiate a chamber vote here, you also need 4 more mana to pass the vote. If it passes, you get to add an energy token to this location. If you have 0 or less, you remove an energy token. And mind you, this is the win condition for the council to put 4 energy token on this location. There's all sorts of different spells and artifact cards that you'll be playing throughout the game. And there's also different manas that you're going to be playing. There's single mana, double mana, and dark mana. Dark mana can be used just like regular mana, but counts as a negative vote in chamber votes.
During the night phase, players will write down Mindwalk commands simultaneously. Players will then select who to give their Mindwalk card to, beginning with the first player and going clockwise.
Mindwalks can be a wide variety of anything. They can be as simple as do not speak, which will last till the end of the round, or they can tell a player to go to a specific location, such as going to the Origin, calling a chamber vote, taking me, yourself, and another player, and using your lowest mana card. So hopefully that was enough information that you kind of get an idea of what Mindwalkers is about. I really enjoyed this game. We're a huge fan of social deductions, and Hidden Traitor, and the fantasy theme really comes through in this, and the spells and the Mindwalk cards. What did you think about it?
It was really cool. So, like, our gaming group, like, one of the first games we really started getting into was Resistance. When we first started getting into board games, we would play that game so much. And this feels like Resistance on steroids.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a step up from Resistance.
Because the game has so many, like, layers to where, because you might get mind-walked on your turn to do something that you don't want to do, you have to tell another player to do what you want to do on your turn.
Right.
So it's interesting. Like, even if you're a good guy, you might have to force a person who's, part of the Fallen to go to the chamber and vote with their highest mana, because that's what you would want to do on your turn. And you might be doing something bad if a Fallen has mind-walked you. So it's crazy. It really does feel like you're being mind-controlled. And then when you're trying to, like, accuse people, you're like, oh, you did, like, something shady. But then...
Oh, I was mind-walked.
You might be mind-walked, but nobody knows what your mind-walk card actually said. So are you lying, or were you telling the truth, where you really were mind-walked? Yeah. It adds so much more depth to a deduction game that I didn't think was possible. There's already layers to a social deduction game trying to figure out if people are lying or not. But this just adds that layer of being like...
Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, why? Is it because you were mind-walked, or are you just making that up?
It's such a good way to lie. Be like, yeah, no, I was told to do that. And then it puts that blame right on whoever gave you that card.
Right, and then because all the mind-walks are color coordinated, depending on, so you'd be like, oh, that's a green one, so I know that Mitch mind-walked you. But if you're the Fallen, you could just lie and be like, oh, it told me to do that, and pretend to be good, and it's crazy. Yeah, it's so much fun, though.
Throughout the game, you're pretty much getting other players to take the actions you want to. And it's like, you could use that to, like, tell them not to talk for a round or whatnot, in which case you're just essentially losing an action, but at the same time you could be getting, like, a valuable moment to talk with who you think is on your team without outside influences. So one thing we forgot to mention in our little preview section of the video was that this game comes with characters who each have unique abilities that slightly change how you're going to play the game. We'll put them on the screen for you to see, but they drastically change, like, the mind walks that you're going to give people or the spells that you're going to be going after. They're just fantastic. We only played with them for one game, but my gosh, did it add just that extra layer to it, to where it just went above and beyond with those.
Yeah. And then there's also different identities that you can play with. So if you are familiar with, like, Resistance or Werewolf, like, your first game can be pretty basic, like, just the two, like, factions that you're a part of. But then, you can always add different cards in to kind of add more factions in. So this game does do that as well. So there are a bunch of different identities that, have their own win conditions throughout the game. So I think we only played with two of them. We played with the Hawk and we played with the Populace.
Right. And when you're dealing them out, you always have one more card than there are players. So you don't know the exact ratio of what's going out.
Right, you don't know if there's 2 Fallen, 2 Council, or if there's 3 Fallen, 2 Council, or, and then, like, one random,
Yeah, to where in a 5-player game you have 3 Council, 2 Fallen, and then, like, one of those mystery rolls. So it's like, you don't know exactly how it's going to happen. To where, I think ours, we played with the Hunter, or no, the Hawk.
The Hawk.
It was the Hawk, yeah.
Yeah, and the Hawk had a very specific win condition. He needed there to be 2 energy on the origin, exactly 2.
I think...
Or 2 or more.
2 or more. Yeah, the Hawk needed 2 or more, and he needed equal amount of players banished on both sides, or still in the game.
So if you were the Hawk, you really need to knew, like, who was Fallen and who was part of the Council, and you needed to make sure that you banished... one from each side, depending on how many there were.
Everyone thought I was the Hawk based on the actions that I was doing, but it's like the actions that I received made me look like the Hawk, when it was really my brother Alex, and Ben even passed me a card in parentheses that was like, oh, you suck, Hawk. I was like, no, we're on the same team.
It's so hard, though, because it's like, it's a social deduction game that's, like, so much more thinky than, like, your typical social deduction. It's not just, like, figuring out who everybody is. It's thinking about, like, okay, well, I know it looks like this is who you are, but like who mind walked you and like what are they doing? Like
Right.
it's just like you really have to think that like next step outside of the box to kind of piece everything together.
Right, and the fact that the cards are dry erase and you're kind of just given like this blank slate to write anything you want them to do in that round, like it opens it up so much rather than just like having cards that have pre-written text and like you have one card that says go here, another one to go here. You can just, it could be anything.
Yeah, you can be as vague or as descriptive as you want, but I don't think you can actually tell them how to vote, correct?
You can tell them how to vote.
You can tell them what location to go to, but not what action to perform.
No, you could tell them what it's the location that unseals something. Well, you can tell them to go to that location, unseal another location, but as soon as they go to that second location,
you can't dictate
second
action.
Yeah, because you're essentially dictating two actions that they're doing.
Okay.
So yeah, you can have them unlock something, and then when they go there, there's no more
But you have to
interaction.
watch, because if you're too vague, if you just say, initiate a chamber vote, they could go to the court of Calgon, I think that's what it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they could go and initiate a chamber vote to banish a player rather than to, put an energy token on the origin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
location is important.
Yeah, because you wrote that wrong the one time. You
Yeah.
wrote chamber vote, and
I
you
said
didn't
initiate a chamber
and you
vote and
didn't-
vote with
yeah.
your highest mana, and then I passed it to a player that I didn't know was fallen, and then they went and then they voted with their highest mana
to banish someone, I believe.
yeah, and because I just said chamber vote and I wasn't specific as to
Which one?
where the chamber vote needed to be called, like what location they needed to be at.
Yeah, you
So-
just said initiate chamber vote.
So you have to watch.
Yeah. I mean, and when you're Mindwalked, you're supposed to perform it to the best of your ability. But if they do leave like that vagueness in there, and yeah, why not take advantage of it? You didn't write it right, so.
Oh, another thing we forgot to mention. So mind walks happen in order of the first player.
Yes, because there's that big first player card, which is going to determine the priority, because several Mindwalks can get passed to one player.
Right, so you have to also keep that in mind, because when you're handing a mind walk to somebody, you have to keep in mind, like, okay, well, how many people are going before this person? If somebody else mind walks them, my mind walk might not happen, because if it contradicts a mind walk, they have to do it in priority order. So if Mitch was before me and he told me to go to the council and initiate a chamber vote, and then, another player who's, goes after me tells me to go to the time chamber and make them first player, well, I can only go to one location on my turn. So Mitch's mind walk would take precedence over the player that goes after me.
Right. But if they don't conflict, let's say one person told you to, like, high five someone and say, like, oh, team fallen, or something like that.
Right,
then
or
you'd have to do them both.
They just said, at any chamber vote, vote with your lowest mana.
Yeah.
And then this person just said, go here and initiate a chamber vote. You would have to do both. So it's interesting.
It's so good.
It is very good. It's a very good social deduction hidden trader game with just so many layers. So we played it at 4 and at 5 players. And it definitely gets more complicated with the more people that you have. But I think
it's fantastic.
Yeah,
I would like
adds
to play
to
like
that,
an 8-player game with
that's
this.
fine. I would like to see those other identities get thrown into the mix to see what they do. Because, man, some of those win conditions are challenging, But yeah, it's a very fun game.
So if you're interested in Mindwalkers, and you should be, because it's a fantastic game, go to their Kickstarter page, because it launched today, August 5th. Just went live, so go check it out. It's fantastic.
We'll put the link in the description below to make it easier for you guys to check out. Definitely a game that we're going to be backing, because it was, like I said, I can't stop thinking about this game. We love social deduction games, and I've never seen a game like this. It just has so, the strategy has just got so much depth to it.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
crazy.
So if you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you can get notified of our videos, which we release every Sunday, and subscribe.
So that's all we have for you today. Make sure to check out Mindwalkers on Kickstarter, just launched today. But we're at M is for Meeple. I'm Morgan.
And I'm Mitch.
Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.